so many couples go through this. I feel like it becomes this thing of just like it's us against each other versus us fighting for what we want. Do you want to feel closer to me?
Yeah.
Do you want to feel more love from me to you?
Yeah, I mean, what just happened this morning was just old patterns coming back. I'm just frustrated with you.
What are you frustrated about?
Because I'm like, I don't know.
What happens when we don't go on date nights for a while?
We become disconnected and just like nitpicky with each other.
Is that what you've been feeling?
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me more.
Well, we have this podcast called Late Night Date Night, and we haven't been on a date in over a month, right? Because we had 2 date nights planned, both had to get canceled because of sick kids, and is what it is, but at the end of the day, like, we still need to be able to make time for each other. And so, I don't know, it's just caused like this, I think, disconnection between the 2 of us, and because we haven't had that time to like go out, just the 2 of us, to like have fun and just get out of the house, where like you don't have all of the stressors that come with being in the house. Yeah.
What starts to happen when you feel disconnected? Like, what do you notice for yourself?
I get more defensive with you. Like this morning when you were like, I just want you to come up to me and like kiss me or hug me or tell me that you love me. And I'm like, okay, yeah, like that's great. Or I just get like really, I got annoyed because I don't know, I was like, okay, I know I need to do that, but like at the same time, we haven't had any time for each other to like connect. So
it's hard as I come over and tell you, this is what I need. I feel disconnected from you. And then I watch you inadvertently roll your eyes. Not because you're trying to be rude. It's just one of those things where you feel empty. You don't feel the connection. And so you're like, oh, fucking whatever. And I know it's one of those things where when we are not going consistently out on date nights and spending time alone, the stress of just life starts to impact us at a level that I think most people experience, but they may not even be aware of. Mm-hmm. And it really comes down to, everything we're managing, kids, work, the home, all of it. Mm-hmm. And when we don't go on date nights, I feel like you become defensive, just like you said. I also feel like I become very short and I don't know, I don't want to say asshole, but I don't really have a better word, so we'll just use that for now. Mm-hmm. And it's like, because I feel empty too. Mm-hmm. And it makes our sex life not feel the same, and it impacts all of these things. Like when we're in the kitchen this morning and I'm feeling that, all that I could like run through my head was like these old patterns that we are so accustomed to falling into, and yet at the end of the day, we want the exact same thing. Mm-hmm. You want connection, I want connection. And so when you hear me say that, I want those things, but you feel empty, like, how do you take that?
I just got annoyed because I feel like I'm giving like so much, and just, I guess I feel a little bit overwhelmed by things, like I'm doing all of these things, and yes, I get time away from the kids and stuff, but like, and we've even had like time to go out with friends together as a family, but not having that one-on-one time with you outside of the house is just like, okay, another thing for me to do. Like, I don't know. I just got super annoyed. And
well, I can understand that you're getting annoyed, but don't you think at the same time, right? Like if I come up and I tell you what I need, it should be understood, or at least like be in this place of being curious about like, okay, Sergio's coming up to tell me that he feels this way about the relationship. Maybe I can look and see if he's right. Because every time that you've come up to me and you're like, I need more quality time, right? I think it's been one of those things where like, okay, I didn't realize it was a blind spot for me, and apologize, and I tried to make it better. But like when you come up to me and you're like, I feel disconnected from you, or I don't feel like we're getting enough quality time, there has been plenty of times where I was just like, what are you talking about? And then I would try to justify this thing where I thought was quality time. And then you would be like, well, that's not quality time to me. Mm-hmm. Right? And it was an opportunity for me to be like, okay, you're right. And sometimes I feel like when we are in this place, when we haven't gone on date nights, and there is this defensive nature, which I think like it's very normal, right? Because we haven't been able to spend time together, I feel like it becomes this thing of just like it's us against each other versus us fighting for what we want. I know this is hard to talk about. And we had this whole other thing we were going to talk about, but like this is what's real. And I think the reason I wanted to go down this path is because like so many couples go through this where like do you want to feel closer to me?
Yeah.
Do you want to feel more love from me to you?
Yeah, I mean, what just happened this morning was just old patterns coming back.
But I think...
But, like, I also was like, are we going to do anything? Because Valentine's Day is coming up, and I was like, are we going to do anything for Valentine's Day? Or is it just going to be, like, another day? And, yeah, I guess that was asked with some sort of, like, underlying impression of, like, I hope he does something. I hope we're going to do something together as a couple.
You told me the other day that you hate Valentine's Day.
I don't like going out on Valentine's Day, but at this point, like, we haven't been out on a date in like over a month. And so it's like,
do you see how that's confusing though?
Yes, I know. And I'm not trying to be like confusing or
I know you're not.
gaslighting or whatever you want to call it.
You're not.
But like, it's Valentine's Day. We haven't been out on a date in so long. Like, let's go do something.
Okay. Listen, I'm 100% on board with that.
Yeah.
Right? But what I'm trying to get at is like there has to be this communication of like, if you say one thing that you're like, I don't want to do Valentine's Day, I don't like going out, and then there's this other expectation of like, well, I want to go out. Like, listen,
Yes, I know. You can only do what has been communicated, and I did a poor job of communicating.
That's okay. Like I do it plenty of times too, right?
Yeah.
What do you think would have been a better way for me to tell you how I was feeling and what I needed to allow you to like recognize that that's what I needed versus getting defensive?
I think it was just the moment, like the things that happened beforehand, and me not being able to like express to you like it's Valentine's Day, like I want to do something with you, but then like immediately being met with like, you don't do this, and it's like,
but didn't I say
but
it
I'm trying.
But didn't I say it first?
Like, I don't know.
I told you how I felt first, and then you told me about Valentine's Day.
No, I thought we talked about Valentine's Day first, and then you came in and you were like, because we weren't.
Do you know that commercial? You know that commercial where they're like, "Let's watch the game tape," and then they go back and they watch the commercial, and then one of the partners is just like, "I wish we had that."
Same.
So let's just both acknowledge the fact that you want to go out on Valentine's Day, and I want to be told that you love me, and that you come up and hug me, and that you appreciate me. Mm-hmm. You want more quality time, and I want some more words of affirmation for all you love language folks out there. Right?
Yeah.
So our old pattern knows this, which I'm going to give us a lot of credit for because we didn't fall into that.
No.
Our old pattern would be that we step into a fight and now we're fighting one another. Mm-hmm. This fact that we are recognizing that we're fighting for something that we both want came back from our willingness to put together a vision of what we want our marriage to look like.
Yeah.
So when like, how do I want to ask this question? When you see when you talk to your friends who aren't going on date nights, what are you seeing going on in their marriage?
Yeah.
What did they tell you about their marriage when you know they're not going on date nights? Like, what have they told you about the connection they have with their husbands?
I'd say it's a lot of the same stuff. They just, are kind of in the day-to-day getting through life of like, this is what you do, this is what I do. There's no real like intimate time to just be a couple and go out and have fun together. And I think when you can do that with each other, all of a sudden the day-to-day stuff is still the day-to-day stuff, but it's not met with any sort of like frustrations or nitpickiness or like, oh my God, he asked me to do this thing on top of what I'm already doing. Like, what the heck?
Yeah, just telling your husband you love him sounds really, really hard.
No, it's...
I'm just giving you a hard time. I understand.
No, but I truly think that when our emotional needs aren't being met in the way that our love language needs to be communicated to us, we see through these like rose-colored glasses and like, even though the person may or may not be doing that, sometimes it's you like defer to the negative and like, oh, they're still not doing this. Like,
Yeah, I think that's natural. All you see is all the things that they're not doing versus the things that they are doing. But what I want to recognize is that like it's just the fact that like we're both communicating something that we want where we feel empty inside. And it's because when you tell me that you don't feel like we're having enough quality time or you feel disconnected, in my mind, I want to make sure that I show up differently for that. Like I want to do that because I'm balancing a lot too, right? We all are, right? Kids, work, you name it. And so when I say that to you, it's not like I'm like, hey, you're a terrible wife. You're not doing anything right. It's me saying, hey, I don't feel loved and I want to feel loved. You know? And I think that's the important part about going on these date nights is like, I think even the bigger thing is just like intentionality. Because the hardest part about date nights is because when we have kids and they get sick, we're not going to just like give them to the babysitter and go out.
no.
So if we can't always do date nights for whatever reason, like things fall apart, what can we do in between there? Like what type of intentionality can we have in between date nights to make sure that we don't feel this way?
I mean, there's certain things that I feel like we even have been doing, you know, like
Yeah.
at home we try and make time for each other, like on the couch and stuff. But at this point, it's like, I don't know, you can do all those things, but like it's just so important to like get out of the house
Yeah.
and go have fun together.
So if you could
know?
paint this picture of like this, like why is date night so important to you? Like what do you get on date night that allows you to not get to this place?
There's like a sense of freedom when I'm outside of the house and it's just like me and you. Like we can have fun and laugh and there's not like this subconscious like thought of like, oh, what if one of the boys wakes up if we're having time on the couch after they go to bed?
Yeah.
Like what if one of the boys wakes up? Then like I gotta go, you know, help them. And there's nothing wrong with that, but like there is a sense of like freedom and like funness that just comes from the two of us getting outside of the house and going to do something fun together.
This is why when guys tell me like, yeah, we did a date night, we kind of just like hung out at home. I'm like, that's not a fucking date night.
We do that every day.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Like, so when like I'm coaching my guys and they're like, yeah, me and my wife did a date night. We watched Netflix. I'm like, that's not a fucking date night.
That's not a date night.
Or like, oh, we went out with the family. I'm like, if your kids were there, that's not a date night.
No.
Right? Because everything.
Sorry.
No.
It's not.
You don't even need to apologize. The reality is a date night's when like you are allowed to go out and date each other like the kids didn't fucking exist.
Yeah.
You got somebody else watching them, right? You can have a few drinks if you want. You can talk about all the things that you want to talk about. You can like remember why you love one another instead of like looking at each other while one's changing the diaper and the other one's trying to put on fucking pajamas on a toddler and they're just both screaming and you're like, I'm going to murder everybody. Right?
Yeah.
Like you have to get away from the madness.
Yeah. And even just like sitting on the couch of being like you scan the room and you're like, oh, I got to take care of that toy. Like, the laundry needs to be folded.
Yep.
There's dishes in the sink, like all these open items that just like clog my head of like the mental mother load. And like when you can get out of the house, like you forget about all of those things that don't necessarily matter and you can focus on each other.
Amen to that. I think that's one of the best parts about date night too. It's like being intentional about what you're going to do, right? Yeah. Going out to dinner, planning activities, doing things that make you like laugh. The way I like to think about date nights too is like dinner's great and drinks are great if that's your thing. And while we like to go out and do those things, I also like to go do activities. Like in the summer is wonderful. Concerts are great. When we go to the when we were like going and throwing skee balls or like what do you call that place?
The arcade.
The arcade. Just being able to go out and have fun. And I think the intentionality of planning the date nights is big. What does it do for you from like a sexual standpoint? Like when you're not on when we're not doing date nights versus when we are doing date nights.
Yeah. I just feel more like emotionally connected to you.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I would say our sex life has been a lot better than it has ever been in the past lately, even though we are kind of in this spot where we feel a little bit disconnected because we haven't gotten that one-on-one time out of the house. But still, like, when I feel more emotionally connected to you and we can like sit down and have a conversation and talk about things going like on in our lives, or what we want to do here or there, or whatever it might look like, I feel like it just creates this like deeper connection, the two of us.
Yeah.
What about you?
I would say date nights have definitely improved the quality of our sex and the frequency of it all. But I think the bigger thing is it went from just being like this thing that I felt like we were doing to this thing that we both want to do. And it was, I feel like the more we go on dates, the better sex we have. And the better sex we have, the more connected we are. The more connected we are, the more we want to go on date nights.
Right.
And so right now we're just in this place, in like this limbo where we haven't gone on date nights. And it's easy to get caught in this rut. You're like, oh, we'll do it next week. Oh, we'll do it next week. And before you know it, a month's gone by.
Right. Yeah.
And then you wonder why your sex life is suffering. But this just happens a lot.
Yeah.
This is what, it's challenging to get on here and talk about things that are going on in real life. Like in the moment. Because like energetically, you and I, even though like we're doing fucking wonderful as a couple, there's gonna be points of like feeling disconnected. And it's in those disconnection points that like, you can't wait on me and I can't wait on you. Like there has to be this intentional, like, okay, I know Lizzie needs quality time, and while date night's not until Friday, it doesn't mean I'm gonna wait till Friday night to spend time with you and talk to you. And you can't wait until Friday night to like invest in me. Like that's not how this works. So like between now and Friday, to make sure that Friday just isn't this thing where we're trying to flush it all into the 2 hours that we have, like, what do you think would be good for both of us to do leading up to date night on Friday night?
Just like flirt with one another.
Yeah.
And
How do you like me to flirt with you?
well, you send me like cute texts sometimes, which I think is really nice. And you like send me old pictures of us or of Luca or the boys.
Yeah.
And so I think that's fun.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What's coming up for you right now?
I'm just frustrated with you
What are you frustrated about?
because I'm like, I don't know.
It's okay to be frustrated. Listen, it's hard not to be frustrated when you feel disconnected, and it's okay to be upset. It is okay to be upset. This is what happens when we're running hard with the boys.
With everything.
You're working out really hard on your body. You're focusing on your nutrition. You're posting on social media. You're growing so much as a woman and as a mother, right? It's hard. And then we come here and we turn the cameras on, and as much as it would be lovely for everything to be perfect, that's just not the way life is. And it's okay. It's okay to be upset, and it's okay to feel disconnected. But what is it like knowing that, like, even in this place of disconnection, we're connecting over the thing that we want?
Yeah, I mean, you have to fight for what you want.
Yeah.
A better relationship. And not that it, like, sucks right now, but we just got caught in a rut. And or, like, focusing on all the other things that we're fucking doing right now, that, like, we have to make time for each other.
Yeah. I think to give ourselves a little bit of credit here, right? Definitely to give you a ton of credit and me a ton of credit is it's a learning act, right? We're learning how to push the limits in our bodies, push the limits, spiritually, push our limits as a couple, right? And as parents and as a family. So there's going to be little things that break. There's going to be little things that break. And the beautiful part is, like, at least we caught it before you and I were in a bad spot.
Mm-hmm.
Because there hasn't been one time where I was like, oh, we're fucked.
Yeah.
Where in the past I was like, felt like I was always like waiting for something to happen. And this time it hasn't been like that.
Well, you said that the other day, though.
What's that?
That, Like, you came downstairs after you fell asleep in Luca's room after putting him to bed, and you were like, I don't remember exactly what you said, but you were like, is everything good? Like, sometimes I get a little,
It wasn't,
like, nervous.
no, it was
And I was like, yeah, I'm fine. Like, I'm just sitting on the couch.
You looked at me, you're like, what are you talking about? What came up for me was we used to be in this place where we would get into these fights that would cycle every couple of weeks. And we haven't been in one in so long that I was like, huh, this is weird. This is like uncharted territory. And so you ever wake up from a dream and you're like, you're mad at your partner because they did something in the dream?
Yeah.
That's what I woke up. I woke up and I was like, did we get into a fight before I laid down in the kids' room? Mind you, I'm operating on like 5 hours of sleep. Yeah. Constantly in Luca's room because he's either wetting the bed or he's just having
Awake.
a coughing attack.
Yeah.
Right? So like, yeah, it was just a weird spot to be. I think this is just the natural part about being a couple. Is it's just like this awareness of like, what is your partner going through? Like being curious about her, being curious about him. Because I truly, in our marriage, I can't make you, I'm not responsible for your happiness, but I am responsible for how I show up as a husband to make you,
Right.
right?
Yep.
That's all I can do.
And same for me, goes as a wife.
Yeah.
And speaking your love language.
And it's hard because words are not your love language.
No.
And quality time is not my love language.
Yeah.
So when you're like, hey, I need quality time, I'm like, it's not that I don't want to hang out with you. I love hanging out with you. But I'm like, okay, what is it? Like 5 minutes, 10 minutes? And you're like, no, like a few hours. I'm like, okay, cool. Mm-hmm. And for me, when I tell you I need words of affirmation, how often do you think I need it?
Probably a little something daily.
Daily. And how often do you feel like you give it?
Probably not enough.
Yeah. And that's just the natural thing. When it's not yours, of course it's going to be awkward, which comes back to the intentionality piece of this whole thing. Mm-hmm. It's intentionality in the relationship of being like, okay, I know what she likes. I know what he likes. I'm going to have to force myself to do this more until it just becomes a habit.
Right. So do you feel like you have to force yourself to hang out with him?
It's not forcing myself to hang out with you. It's one of those things where like late at night after Luca and Enzo maybe have struggled going to bed because they were just screaming and they're just having, little kid time. And then I fall asleep in Luca's bed. And all I want to do is go to bed knowing that 3 a.m. is going to be early the next day. Mm-hmm. It's not that I don't want to hang out with you, but I'm faced with two choices. Go to bed or come downstairs and have quality time with you, knowing that this is going to make me lose out on sleep time, but this is also going to give me the exact thing that I want, which is a deeper connection and relationship with you.
Right. Yeah.
So it's not like I'm like, fuck, I gotta go hang out with my wife. It's more so like, okay,
yeah.
I want to, and I'm going to be a little more tired tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, I'm not asking for every single night, Like, we don't
No.
need to do it. We don't need to have that, like, every single night.
No.
Because, like, last night I had to take care of some things around the house and stuff.
Yeah.
And so just to let you know, like, my expectation isn't that we, like, spend time together every single night.
And I think you've been very clear about that. Like, I don't feel like that's ever been the case. Me, on the other hand, I'm a little bit greedy. I would like to hear it, daily if possible. But a couple times a week would be nice too.
Yeah.
And it could just be like little things. And you've been so good at it. Just like, hey, thank you for making breakfast. I really appreciate everything you do. So it's not like I'm over here being like in the desert. I haven't had water in weeks. It's just like, sometimes, I think sometimes the lack of date nights creates, it highlights the things that you need the most.
Yeah.
Listen, this one's been, I didn't know where this was going to go, but we're going to wrap this thing up and we're going to pull a card. I don't even know. It's 100 questions, a conversation toolkit. So you're going to pick a card and then we're both going to answer the question. Okay. This is how we're going to wrap this thing up. So pick a card. Mm-hmm. Pick a card, any card. Okay. Okay, fuck these cards. Pick a card, any card. Oh, yeah, there you go. Okay. Read the question.
Ooh, if we asked the childhood version of what job they wanted to do, what would they say?
I wanted to be a train conductor.
Uh-huh.
I wanted to be able to drive trains so that I could wear... I don't know why. I really just wanted to be a train conductor. I liked the way trains moved. I liked the way they sounded. I liked the way they looked. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of that came from a trip that I took to Disney World with my parents where I got to see the train go around the Magic Kingdom, and I was like, man, I want to be the guy that drives that train,
Yeah.
right? Because it just seems so cool. So,
Sounds like a job that you would still want. Like
apparently,
maybe later in life.
Yeah, you know what? We're done being a coach. I'm going to become a train conductor.
Yeah.
Choo
Disney
choo
World.
at Disney World. Man, I would. I wonder if living in Disney World would be one of those things where, like, if you live in Vegas, you get tired of the Strip.
Yeah.
I have a feeling it would
The
be.
magic fades a
Yeah.
little bit. Yeah.
So let me
I
ask
feel like
you.
it would.
If we asked the childhood version of you what job they wanted to do, what would they say?
I wanted to be. I was really into Barbies and stuff, and like dolls, and so I really wanted to be a princess. That's not a real job, but
I mean, in your mind though, what is this princess doing on her job?
like dressed in beautiful dresses and have tea parties.
You don't even drink tea.
I know.
What would okay like if
Okay,
you could
eat cookies then.
Oh dang! Remember, Lizzie and I bought a bunch of Girl Scout cookies because there's a little girl at the park.
Yeah, she's so cute.
She was cute, and she was trying to like give me her little elevator pitch, her entrepreneur pitch, and so she did such a good job. I spent $60 on cookies.
Yeah, bought like 6 boxes, and he has the world's best like what do you call that?
Discipline.
Self-discipline, or you can like actually not eat them, and whereas like I have to try really hard to not eat them.
Yeah.
Like literally a whole box in one sitting. So
They're so good, especially on cheat meal date nights.
yes,
Definitely crushing those.
definitely.
All right, so what's your one piece of advice to everybody about date nights?
Plan a date night.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's if you're disconnected from your spouse, or you feel like you guys are getting caught in any sort of like just butting heads or being nitpicky with each other, or you're getting defensive or anything, could be a sign that you just need to go out together and spend some time together, because being in the house is great, but getting out of the house for a date night to have fun with each other is that much better.
Amen to that.
What about you?
Fellas, you're responsible for planning the first date night. And I'm telling you right now, date night does not start on date night. It starts a week before. So I teach all my guys how to plan date nights to make sure that if they're trying to get laid on Friday, it starts on Sunday.
Yeah,
Gotta flirt a little bit.
got it.
All right. Thanks for joining us on the Late Night Date Night podcast. Come follow us, Lizzie Ray, at Sergio Nazar. Until next time, peace.
Bye.